We have breaking news right now. Minutes ago, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was detained by ICE again. He now faces possible deportation to Uganda, a third country he has no connection to and likely has never even been to. Here's what you need to know. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is the Maryland man, the Maryland father, who was wrongfully deported to El Salvador earlier this year, where he spent several weeks at the CCOT maximum security terrorism facility being tortured in El Salvador. Eventually, the United States Supreme Court required the United States government to facilitate his return back to the United States of America, which it did. It then charged Kilmar Abrego Garcia in Tennessee with trafficking-related charges. But in that case, the federal judge expressed significant skepticism that Abrego Garcia was correctly charged and said that essentially the evidence that the government was relying on was insufficient to keep Abrego Garcia behind bars pending trial. And so the federal judge in Tennessee released Abrego Garcia on bond. But at the same time, a Maryland judge issued an order saying that ICE is not allowed to detain and arrest and deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to El Salvador. And if ICE wanted to arrest, detain, and deport Abrego Garcia to a third country like Uganda, it must give him 72 hours notice. Remember, the United States Supreme Court previously allowed the Trump administration to deport individuals to countries where they have no connection to, this so-called third country policy. And recently, the Trump administration entered into an agreement with the Foreign Ministry of Uganda so that Uganda can accept undocumented immigrants as part of this third country process. Abrego Garcia's lawyers say that the Trump administration has been pressuring Abrego Garcia to take a plea deal in exchange for deportation to Costa Rica instead of Uganda. Well, this morning, Abrego Garcia went to an ICE appointment in Maryland after being reunited with his family over the weekend. His attorneys received notice on Friday at 4:01 p.m. Eastern Time that if he surrendered himself to ICE this morning, that he would face possible deportation to a third country. This morning, Abrego Garcia did go to that ICE appointment as he was required to by law. When he arrived, ICE agents took him into custody, arrested him, and he now faces deportation to a country far away from his family, one that neither he nor his family has any connection to. And his lawyers have already filed a lawsuit challenging his potential deportation to Uganda. But right now, Kilmar sits behind bars. Before I continue, please consider subscribing to support my work or sending a one-time donation via Venmo to Aaron-Parnas. Your support fuels this work and allows me to compete with mainstream media, so please consider subscribing today. We'll see what happens next. Abrego Garcia's case will now go through the Maryland court system once again, where his attorneys will challenge his detention. They'll challenge his possible deportation to Uganda. Abrego Garcia has some of the best lawyers in the country. I know the firm that he's represented by. I'm not surprised that this firm is representing him, and I wouldn't be surprised if this case makes it all the way back up to the United States Supreme Court once again. But now, Abrego Garcia, after reuniting with his family in Maryland, faces deportation to Uganda. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is turning the United States military on civilians. Illinois Democrats and Illinois leaders from the local level to the statewide level have all condemned Donald Trump's plan to send the National Guard into Chicago, despite the fact that Illinois' governor, J.B. Pritzker, and Chicago's mayor, Brandon Johnson, neither of whom have requested the National Guard to be present in the city because there is no crime emergency. Meanwhile, National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. overnight began carrying weapons for the first time since their deployment in the past several weeks. I'll tell you this, it's a very dystopian feeling walking around the streets of Washington, D.C., seeing members in full military garb. We haven't seen anyone carry weapons yet because that started overnight, but I'm sure we'll see that today in a show of force against civilians who may try to attack or may try to protest members of the National Guard. Meanwhile, overnight, Donald Trump is now threatening to send Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey and a former top Trump advisor, to prison to prosecute him over Bridgegate scandal after Chris Christie criticized him on ABC News over his weaponization of the Justice Department. It is a clear pattern emerging criticized Donald Trump in an interview that Donald Trump does not like, and he will send his Department of Justice after you. Chris Christie is the next target. Meanwhile, France has summoned U.S. Ambassador Charles Kushner, the father of Jared Kushner, after his letter to President Emmanuel Macron accused France of failing to combat anti-Semitic violence. The United States has confirmed its first ever human case of the flesh-eating screwworm parasite traced to recent travel in Central America, specifically in Guatemala. This case is in Maryland. Although there is a small and pretty much non-existent risk to other humans, it is worth noting that this case could have significant risk to cattle and other farm animals in the United States of America, as that flesh-eating screwworm can devastate cattle production in the country. Donald Trump and his allies have escalated a, quote, pattern of lawfare by targeting political opponents, specifically now using unverified mortgage fraud allegations. They're targeting Adam Schiff, the senator from California, and as well as Lisa Cook, the governor, one of the governors on the Federal Reserve, who was appointed in 2022 to a 14-year term. Today, Donald Trump is set to sign an executive order cracking down on flag desecration, directing the Justice Department to prosecute those who burn the American flag and pursue limits on First Amendment protections, while also allowing immigration penalties for non-citizens involved in flag burning. Flag burning is a protective form of speech. The United States Supreme Court has previously ruled that individuals cannot be prosecuted for burning the American flag. And yet today, the Trump administration will sign an executive order that may try to criminalize flag burning or close to it. Today, Trump is hosting the South Korean president at the White House on talks on trade, North Korea, and regional security. This is the first visit by the new South Korean president since the old one was removed from office. The United States Department of Justice alleges that Smartmatic executives funneled money from a 2018 Los Angeles voting machine contract into slush funds tied to bribery schemes. And in Israel, this morning, Israeli strikes on the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis, which is located in southern Gaza, killed more than a dozen people, including journalists and medical staff, after back-to-back, quote, double tap attacks, drawing condemnation worldwide. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has shifted to demanding a comprehensive ceasefire deal that secures all release of hostages and ends the Gaza war on Israel's term, following Donald Trump's lead, as many experts warn that this shift is a way to prolong the conflict so that Bibi Netanyahu can remain in power. That is all the news right now. Make sure to subscribe to support my work, and I'll see you this evening. Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.